Great, there we go. I think we are live now. So, wait, are we?
It says this meeting is being live streamed. We're
Okay,
good, I
great,
think.
great. Okay, I guess I'll just post this in places.
I posted in like 5, 6 chat rooms. I'm like, here we go.
Really?
I was like, we gotta get the hype going.
Yeah, let me, where else should I post? Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay. All right. So, I guess I can record locally, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, so tell me about yourself. What do you do for work?
Well, I try to avoid the subject of work now in typology, and there's a distinct reason why. But I was a data center superintendent. I've built over 600 data centers in the United States, Canada, and Mexico for Meta, Google, AWS, etc. But I've also done factory work like for Chevrolet, Toyota, whatever. Um, a lot, if you consume anything out of a canned beverage in the United States, that probably was a part of the manufacturing process for that. I've done schools, children's hospitals, all kinds of things. Um, I'm in the infrastructure field. I try not to talk about work on these calls now because work can be an all-consuming subject for me.
Well, that's so you like your work.
Very much so. Um, it's a I like harsh demanding environments and they tend to consume your time. Like, a lot of workplace stuff ends up being a religion at the end of the day, and a bigger theme for me has been trying to escape from it, to have agency over my own personal time and to develop interests, hobbies, and passions.
So what other interests do you have if you don't?
Well, like as a teenager, I was a gamer, right? So I played a lot of League of Legends. I played Kale in particular. I had in season between season 3 and season 7, 2017. So 2013 to 2017, I had something like 36,000 games on Kale. I managed to hit Diamond 2 as a one trick. I mostly played norms with friends, but when I did decide to play ranked, I climbed in 130 games to about Diamond 2 MMR, and my norms ranked, like when I was playing just norms by myself, I was playing with Masters Challengers. I wasn't all in on ranked, but I feel like I could have hit Masters with her.
Um, any other interests?
Um, I really like technology, so like I have like every device under the sun. I like traveling and hiking. I've been to every state on the West Coast. Like my hat right now is from Vegas. I was there last year during the World Series of Poker. Um, I went up through Colorado. I did all the things in the Rockies. I went through northern and southern Utah through Bryce Canyon and Zion National Park. I went to Vegas, um, Antelope Canyon, Grand Canyon, a lot of the time in Sedona. Out of Phoenix, I've been through SoCal and probably SoCal and Bakersfield. As far as the South is concerned, I've been through Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. Um, I spent some time in Louisiana. I've been to Mississippi. Um, I kind of ended that. Like I had the opportunity to go East Coast to say Columbus, Ohio, New Albany, and Atlanta. but the time commitments with work was taking away from my personal life, and so I couldn't really afford to have that much for personal hobbies or interests because my time was mostly being consumed by these data center projects.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Now, I mean, can you tell me how you got into your line of work?
Well, I was going to school, right? I was in college. Um, like in my younger years, I can distinctly remember I was much more interested in playing video games than anything else. Like I was very much a gamer. I liked MMOs. I liked all those kinds of things, like the very grindy sorts. I like competitive things, but I'm not sure I would ever felt like I was ready enough to be competitive because I wanted to win and go straight to the top. I wanted that 80, 90% win rate. Um, so when I did finally actually play ranked, which was very, very little, I always had a very high win rate. To me, it wasn't about achieving the rank; it was about getting there with a high win rate. That was kind of my ordeal as like a teenager. But when I went to college, right, I studied engineering, I did electrical, I did political science, philosophy, um, robotics. I did a lot of like English literature and kind of social studies and psychology. I was kind of all over the place before I was kind of all over the place, and during my second year of college, right, I decided to stop going to college. I had three people pass away, and so I just didn't want to do anything. And my dad said, "Hey, son, you're very all or nothing on everything. I need you to be doing something." And so that's how I got into electrical and infrastructure. Um, I was typed by Jack 6 years ago during my second year of my career, right? Uh, and I'm very much more experienced now, and I would say that I have a lot better diction to describe things. With that being said, right, the biggest theme for myself in like say the career field for like the longest time ever was like proving myself. I was in these harsh environments, and especially in like Arizona, it was 130 degrees Fahrenheit, about 50 degrees Celsius during the summers. Um, and so a lot of people were doing, say, very physical work. But during that time frame, right, I went from just a casual worker all the way up to superintendent super, super fast once I got credentialed. And so I was basically traveling to all these sites nationwide, and um, I deal with hot button subjects, so like arc flashes or like major deadline sort of events. And so my time was mostly consumed with that stuff rather than say sightseeing. Although sightseeing is more so what I'd like to talk about. Um, Not that I necessarily can talk a lot about it.
What is like arc flash and those subjects you
So
were talking
like with high power distribution, right, with like power lines and whatnot, they a transmission line usually runs at about 100, like anywhere from like 50,000 volts all the way up to typically like 250,000 volts. Some in China are like 500,000 volts. Like you could pull it up online. Um, but essentially, with the way that those big transmission lines work, is that they transmit high voltage, low current. And so that's why they're able to be undersized conductors. But in terms of the transfer to a building, right, they come in and they immediately go through a transformer so that they could be at a usable voltage. So it goes through a number of step downs at the substation to and disconnect means to say a medium voltage switch down to a transformer, and then it's at an input voltage, right? That is acceptable for use. with that acceptable for use voltage, um, some of these pieces of equipment do operate at high power. So it's not necessarily like with the transmission lines, right? You have that 150,000 volts. If that was to explode, that'd be really bad, right? But when you think about it in terms of a building, you have higher amperage and lower voltage. And so an arc flash occurs when that difference of potential hits ground. Um, or say something is like wired wrong. And so what ends up happening is it explodes and it's the heat, shrapnel, liquefied metal. It's actually warmer than the sun. And so it's actually pretty gruesome to see the after effects. And so like I'd go into these damaged systems and I'd fix them.
So are you like doing it hands-on, like you're fixing it yourself, or are you managing people?
I was superintendent, so the sites that I had anywhere from 400 to 600 personnel under me. But I was quality side, so I mostly dealt with leadership. But I've since stepped down, and so now I'm physically in the field working, and I basically float place to place, just fixing things. So like our crew just got recognized like a little bit ago, right? They're like, "Hey, this is the first time that we've had had things go through the QA process with no issues." And like, of course, there's no issues. I've worked on 500, 600 data centers. Hey boss, I'm qualified. I could do it. Let me troubleshoot things just randomly. And he's like, I'm not sure you're being productive. And I'm like, no, I am. And a couple months later, they're like, wait a second, this is actually insane. We've managed to hit major milestones with no installation issues. Well, why would you have installation issues when you have somebody who used to be a QA superintendent fixing things? Um, and so like the role I like to be in is I like to be in the flexible dynamic role, right? So like I can always work with anybody or do anything, but since I'm so kind of flexible and capable, I end up doing everything. And my style is very much I get bored doing the same thing. So if I have the same issue in different places, I'll fix it in different ways. You're supposed to be consistent on everything, but I hate it.
Um, how's your relationship with your family?
I hate my family.
Are you in touch with them?
Yes and no. They try and reach out to me, and most of the time I don't reach out back. Um, I currently live about 2 hours away from them, whereas I used to live basically across the street from them. And my family's a little bit of a touchy subject because as I was growing up, there was no room for emotional expression. There was no room for individual passion or interest. It was very much religion of the workplace and religion of productivity. And so, with my free time, right, a lot of my free time is spent trying to connect with others or disengage from the productive mindset. I I have an interest in watching more shows, experiencing more passion, playing new games, stuff like that, right? But it's because I wasn't allowed to do that as a kid. I wasn't allowed to have feelings of attachment to things. Um, and so like, even things as subjective as say tasting coffee, like I use the coffee analogy, right? If you had 2 teaspoons of coffee, right, and a 12 pot cup of coffee, most people would not qualify that as coffee. They call it bean water. It's kind of a shitty beverage, pardon my French. But the way that my folks like coffee is like that. And If you drink anything with more coffee in it, you could say, well, this spoon sticks straight up. This coffee is sludge. It's basically a solid. And I'm like, I don't necessarily think it qualifies as a solid. It's just normal coffee. Like most of these places know how to make coffee. You just choose not to like it. My taste in coffee is stronger. I like bitter beverages. And so even if I would just make it for myself, right? And or whatever, the mindset was very much, oh, you have to be considerate. You always have to be pleasant. And it was so pleasant that it was unpleasant, if you know what I mean. And if you speak against the grain, it was, you would never hear the end of it. It was very miserable. And so if I say go to my family, I can't be myself. I can't talk about interesting things. I can't talk about, say, like Arcane as a TV show. My dad would watch like half an episode and talk crap about it, even though it's one of the best animated pictures of the 2020s. I can't talk about, say, Invincible, or I can't even show interest in anime. I get scrutinized to death.
So, do you have any more, positive relationships you can talk about, like friends or things?
Ah, I tend to connect with a lot of people on Discord about those things because a lot of people on Discord are, they lead their own lives in interesting ways. And so my use of Discord in off hours is to connect and be show interest in other people because I find that the subjective, like, human experience, the emotions that you feel, the experiences that you go through, even things as such as like subjective taste in media, I find it fascinating. um
So, do you mostly connect with people online, would you say?
yeah, pretty much. I have a lot of friends in real life. I'm a true extrovert in that sense. I talk with everybody. um like even on Discord, there's not a server I'm not in, like in regards to typology. I usually shitpost in them. I'm usually pretty impersonal. I usually like to bug Ibrahim in the chat, but there's not a whole lot that's bad about it. I'm a pretty kind, compassionate person otherwise. Almost got a giggle there. I see that.
Huh?
I say almost got a giggle there. I seen it.
So, how can you talk in more detail about like how you got into infrastructure?
Oh, it was my dad 100% of the time. It was him saying, "Son, you can't," he said, "Son, you can't do nothing." His words exactly. I very much wanted to do nothing but play games and watch shows and do media things. You know, I couldn't invite friends over. I couldn't go out to other people. I'd be policed if I left the house. And so I very much was that kid that was like raised on the internet because the internet was the only place that could be free. And so, like you talk about, say, like interest in technology and all that, like I was raised through the technology boom in the early 2000s, right? Um, and so, like, as technology took off, as cell phones took off, the connection to the digital world, that tends to be very much where I'm at. And so, like, uh, think, and so even in real life, once a month I try and go out with friends to, like, say, a bar or whatever, or do something fun. But most people don't actually want to go out nowadays. Most people are homebodies. They're subject to their own devices, their own means of entertainment. And so asking people to go out and do things, most of the time the answer is no.
Okay, but like after you decided to like do something after your father said you should do something, how did you actually, you know, like gain training, or like did you just apply to a job and something like that?
Oh, I applied to like 5 jobs and then I applied to a school and the school hooked me up with jobs. Um, Eventually I realized I hated the company that I worked for. Um, and so I quit that company. I joined the union. And so I've been traveling and working for the union ever since. And the union hooked me up with another company. So I work for a top 10 electrical contractor in North America. Um, I think I work for the best one. I can't say who I work for. I don't want to dox myself, but um, very much, like I'm engaged with a lot of these really big data center jobs. It's cool.
Why did you hate the other company?
I wasn't culturally a good match for them. They didn't most of the people didn't speak English. Now, it's not to say that they're bad people. It's just that more often than not, when you're speaking bilingually in a company that mostly speaks Spanish, there's a lot of communication issues. And so when you're deciding what to do and who you're doing it with, there's a lot of, there seems to be a lot of this mindset with the old guys. This is the only way to do this. This is the best way. This is the only way. This is my way. And so I'd get paired up with these guys that have this rigid mindset and that are very much just like, oh, okay, this is the way it has to be because I say so. And a lot of my earlier years was fitting it within that framework, right? Like I'd get paired with this old bugger, and I'd have to conform to his point of view. Didn't matter if I liked it, didn't matter if I didn't like it. Most of them were kind of pricks, I guess to say so. Not that the younger guys were. Some of the younger guys were pretty friendly, and some of the one of the old guys, a couple of the old guys were pretty passive and kind of friendly, but um, it just seemed like it was one of those smaller companies where like everybody knew everybody and um, you had to be on the right crew with the right people to actually enjoy the process of going through your workday. Uh, my adaptability lended me to these other people and my desire to perform. Um, and so like at the time, 6 years ago, probably about today, 6 years ago, right? I was on that site, and it was my burden to prove that I was worthwhile, that I was capable, that I could stay in the entire duration of a project from start to end. And that was the milestone at the time. So I kind of expanded the goalposts and milestones to the point where I was running like 500 jobs separately, all over $1 billion. So it's just kind of like the scale there just drastically changed. So like my goals just increased and increased and increased, and so did stress and workload. It's why I don't really desire to be like so essential in the workplace anymore. I was just like, okay, I've done that. I've made my money. It's time to relax and kind of teach other people how to do it. Contribute in other meaningful ways like passing inspections. I get in trouble more often than not now because I'm like sidetracked. I'm just off bullshit and talking with somebody else. I'm like, hey, you're kind of cool. Tell me what you're into.
Okay, so what are your plans for the future then? Like, where do you see yourself going?
It really depends what's available. Um, if I'm able to stay close to home, at least for the next 2 years, that's where I'm going to be. There's a lot of data centers where I'm currently at, and so I'm happy just being a worker there. They're throwing a lot of incentives that say overtime and showing up and that sort of thing. I don't have to work all the hours. Recently they were doing 4 12s and 3 10s. I live 2 hours from site. Now I live half an hour from site, and I'm capping my hours at 56. That's the minimum amount that I can work. And so recently I get off work and I've been watching shows with people. I've been playing some different video games. Like I like roguelikes. I like story-based games. I like watching some YouTube videos about like practical stuff like, AVE on YouTube talking about engineering concepts. Um, some homesteading or some like out in the wilderness sort of, nothing sort of videos, right? But that tends to be a bit more where I'm at. So the goal over the next 10 years rather isn't say work, it's to work the minimum and still make good money. Um, I have everything I materially want. It's just setting up for retirement. So like focus on home cooked meals. I've been focusing a lot on weight loss recently. Like when I was a superintendent, I went from 180 to 300 pounds. Just traveling, working all the time, eating out. Uh, Eating out's the main cause of weight gain as well as change in lifestyle, so sedentary. I've lost 70 pounds since being at 300, but I'm still on my way down to 180 again. I'm like 6'3". So I'm not a small guy, but uh, I'd still like to be skinny. I'd like to be agile. I'd like to be able to move.
Do you how much do you manage your appearance? Like, clothes and things?
I don't. I'm really interested in fashion. I actually really like fashion. But with the way that my lifestyle works, I own 7 shirts, 7 pairs of pants, 7 gotch, 7 socks. Over the past 3 4 years, well, basically lived out of a suitcase with a laptop, and I had my computer, my company computer, company tablet, company phone. I'd have a company car, rented to me. I'd have company gas card, all my expenses on the company card. It was wonderful. Um, but I lived very minimalistically for like 7 8 years. And so I can't like when I moved back, my goal was to build a home I wanted to live in. So I got an expensive speaker set up, like I went to the guys that the Dallas Cowboys go to. I said, "Hey, hit me up with a speaker. I want the best." They're like, "You can't afford the best here." And I'm like, "Perfect. Give me something I can afford." I built a computer. It's got a 5090 9950X3D, 96 gigabytes of RAM. My computer's AI capable. It's got all the memory. Um, it's got like 6 terabytes of memory, fastest SSD on the market. Uh, I have premium headphones. I've got all kinds of like on the go knickknacks. Like I use Apple on the go because it's convenient and everything goes together. But like at home, I like more of a tech powerhouse stuff. I wanted to do Linux, but I don't have time to do Linux. So a lot of games have anti-cheat for Windows. So Linux isn't really the most optimal at the moment, even though I kind of aspire to it. I tried to install Arch manually on my laptop, and I got pretty much most of it working, but the display pooped out and the cooling quit working on the laptop. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to damage this thing. It's going to die. It's going to give me a frowny face. It's going to hate me. And it's a pretty good laptop, so you don't want to kill it off. You start a fire or something, the darn battery decides to explode. Like, okay, there.
What kind of headphones do you use?
uh, these are Audi's LCD3s. I use a Macintosh amplifier. Um, very, very, very high end, very, very. I don't like the more expensive, like these ones run for about 2 grand. Um, You go like they go like usually headphones are high-end headphones are in the 2 to 5 grand territory, but I didn't like any of the 5 grand ones. These have a bit more of a crisper, kind of darker sound. They've kind of got their own sound signature, so it I never really was that picture perfect kind of sanitized audio sound type of person. But they just sound vibrant. Bose sounds like garbage to me in comparison. Um, like I've got a sound system in my living room, and I turn that thing on. It ruins concerts for you. It ruins live performances because the digital recording is the perfect iteration of that song. I have an 85-inch OLED TV if I want to watch videos or movies. It's so high quality that it makes a lot of the media look like garbage. And you're just kind of like, oh, okay. Um, I used to be like a widescreen computer type of guy, right? I didn't like the widescreen because it was too much information all at once. I'd rather focus on one 32-inch monitor and get the most enjoyment out of, say, playing a game or, chat if I'm on Discord and like watching a video at the same time. I want to enjoy those two activities primarily. I don't need another screen. Because you could tell like I'd get sidetracked immediately if I had more information available to me. And so I'd rather just not get sidetracked.
So how can you tell me about some kinds of conflict you've gotten in?
Well, the most recent conflict that I've had is over breaks and lunches. So obviously you're talking to a contractor, and contractors want their time. And so what ended up happening is you're never like in the union, you're never supposed to bend breaks. It's a hard rule because the union fought for your right to have breaks, for instance, right? On that end to that regard, right? But they were only giving us a 5 minute walk time, whereas it took 7 minutes to get to the canteen. And so the people felt like that extra 2 minutes was taking away from their break, so they just wouldn't go take break. They would just rest in the work area and then go. And if you're in a 110-degree environment with 80% humidity, right? Is that a good thing physically? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you facilitating the need to be productive or be safe if you're not eating or like getting out of that heated environment? According to most safety training, that's not acceptable. And so I was voicing those concerns, and then a young 20 something, right? The wire spools that were moving weighed a couple of tons. It took like 3, 4, 5 guys to push those darn wire spools up on the wedge platform that wasn't rated for it. I voiced that too. I said, "Hey, is this rated for it? Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Is this rated for it? We need documentation. Yeah, yeah, sure as you know, I, it's not the platform on the roof wasn't rated for it, and all of a sudden it was an emergency. So they're moving the pinion that holds that wire spool so that they're able to pull down the 5 stories. Um, and during, what led up to that incident is they dropped that wire pinion. There was two guys handling it, weighed about 200 pounds, right? 200, 300 pounds. They dropped it on a guy's finger, and the bone went right through the end of the finger. There's a young 20 something somewhere out in the world right now where his middle finger is going to be extended all the time. He's going to go to the bar and he's going to be drinking his beer, right? He's going to be having a good time with his friends, and he's going to be giving everybody the middle finger all the time. He's not going to be able to move that thing. You know how many fights that might start? Like he's going to have to explain it, the poor soft boy, whatever. But he's going to be giving everybody a bill figure. He's going to be in the middle of traffic. It's going to be normal to him. He's just going to raise his hand up, and the other drivers will be like, "Wait a second, you're flipping me off." No, sorry, built like that now. Like that's a life-changing event, and that's terrible. Um, so I ended up I was fighting for that break time. I was fighting for the ability for these guys to go to the canteen and get their lunch in a proper manner. And that what's it called? Unfortunately, it took an incident for the contractor to respond to me, and they went, "Okay, we're going to give these guys an extra 5 minutes of walk time." And sure, like in their efforts to apply rules consistently for everybody, they took time away from other people that really, that really could have used a little bit more time on breaks and actually the ability to actually go cool off because some of these southern states, Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, um, some of these southern environments are pretty harsh and brutal. And so getting time to cool off, get your electrolytes, whatever, is pretty important. And you can't, like, from a practical implication standpoint, you have a guy that gets a recordable injury, you can't bid on your projects. There's a very strong argument for taking care of your people. If you want to do these billion-dollar projects, you need to put your money where your mouth is and take care of people. End of story. Um, but I'm much more well like since that time frame and since working on those inspections. I was new with this part with this company for at the time, but ever since those events, ever since those inspections, I've actually gained a lot in terms of reputation. So now they listen to me. So there's a lot less conflict. So if I bring something to their attention, they're more likely to act on it. Um, as far as interpersonal conflicts, I don't really think I have that many. Like I usually steer clear if things are going sideways. I usually don't engage with somebody. Um, every once in a while, there's somebody that's so sensitive that you can't even directly talk to, and usually you don't want to be in the environment with those people anyways.
Any other conflicts at work?
Not really.
What about with your family?
No, I'm most, like I understand how they are, so I operate within their frameworks. Um, it's more so I don't want to engage with them than anything else.
Do you like have well, do you have brothers or sisters?
Oh yeah, I have two sisters.
Do you stay in touch with them?
Well, not necessarily. One of them, one of them moved out from mom and dad's house, had got into an abusive relationship, ended up going back living with mom and dad. You can imagine that that's a wonderful atmosphere. Overly controlling parents, and then say, mental health trauma. And the other one is so rigid, so unable to operate outside of her own framework and gets absolutely angry at the slightest of things. Um, neither of which are really people I want to deal with.
So you have your own house now?
Oh yeah, I have my own apartment.
Apartment, okay. What do you like or dislike about where you're living?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's amazing. I live on a lakeside. So I go outside and I'm like 2 miles from the lake. I go paddleboarding. There's communal barbecues down there. There's a dog park. I go sit out on my porch and go to the dog park. There's a state-of-the-art gym just across the street. Within like 2 minutes of just walking. Um, there's an all-season swimming pool here. Uh, it's pretty central. I go anywhere I want to from here. In terms of a metroplex, it's wonderful. Mm, in terms of the apartment, I've got some pretty good square footage. I've got enough room for a good size bedroom, a good size entertainment system. I've got, full size kitchen with the island, so I could cook when I want to cook and all that sort of stuff. I've got a full size bathroom as well and a walk-in closet. There's just absolutely no lack or shortage of things here. Across the street, there's a golf course. I go golfing if I want to. I don't even know how to golf. I don't even want to know how to golf, but I can go do that. Main Street, there's two main streets in the town that I'm in. One is like 2 minutes that way, and the other is 2 minutes that way. So it's just kind of like, oh, okay, I go do whatever I want to on Main Street. Um, so I go to the theater, go do whatever. Not that I'm really out and about in the town. Like I've kind of optimized my house to for media, entertainment, music, that sort of thing. So like most people are like, oh, if I had a home that amazing, I'd never want to leave. But I get cooped up and I want to leave. I still get that travel bug every now and then. I'm like, I want to get out of here. I want to go, I want to go to the East Coast for a while. I want to go to Europe. Um, so I'm planning on going to the UK probably next year. Get out of North America. Um, I want to go to Maryland and Maryland. Uh, Maybe go up to Toronto. I'm Canadian. I've got dual citizenship, so I can cross borders at a whim. Maybe go back up to Banff. I'm a little older. I might appreciate it more. I got some friends up in Calgary. I go to Calgary.
Have you been to Europe before? Or
No, I want to.
did you say you've been to Canada before?
I was born there.
Oh, okay. When did you move to the US?
I was 5 years old.
Do you remember anything about that?
Not really. I was like talking to my dad and like when I was a lot younger about my memories from up there, and he's like, "Son, I'm not gonna lie to you. Most of these things are fake. You don't remember anything." I'm like, "Oh well, I'll keep hold of these memories because they're kind of pleasant, even if they are 100% fabricated, whatever. I'll just choose to believe that they're real. Like you could have just lied to me, like, son, yeah, we did these things. It was magnificent." And I'm like, you had to be a party pooper here. You had to be like, son, everything that you believe, that's fake. It didn't exist. You thought about some positivity there. It's not there. It's just pure pain and suffering. I'm like, okay.
That's too bad. Do you you mentioned community barbecues. Do you go to those a lot?
Oh, they're just down the steps from my apartment. Um, so like instead of having to provide my own barbecue like at my last place I had to, I could just go down there and use the communal ones. They keep like people keep them clean. Like people take good care of the communal stuff here. And so it means I don't have to own one. And one of the benefits, like I'm in infrastructure, right? Like I could build anything, honestly. It doesn't matter if it's like a nuclear power plant, a data center, a factory. I could build anything. I know how to do it. Um, I don't have to know how to do anything here. So I like maintenance will take care of anything I need taken care of. Everything's good quality. Everything's just peaceful, serene. The neighbors are friendly. Um, and so I don't think I'll ever be a homeowner. And it's not because I don't have the means to. It's because I don't want to. Because then I have to maintain everything. I have to keep it in good quality. If I don't like it here in a couple of years, I'll just move. There's no problem. Find someplace nicer. But like as of right now, like I've lived here for since May. Um, I haven't had time to enjoy the pool or the brand new gym or any of that sort of stuff. I kind of want to. Uh, I've been meaning to swap my sleep schedule so I wake up at 2 a.m. Like I used to wake up at 2 a.m. every day in Arizona. Um, I wake up at 4 right now. 2 a.m. is not crazy for me. But with that being said, right, if you wake up at 2 a.m., what are you able to do? You go to the gym. If you're on Discord, what can you do? You could be working out. Like what? Reps take what, 10 seconds? Do your reps, say a few messages in the general chat, go work out again. It's not hard. Um, I mean, sure, if you're swimming or you're running, like that's a bit more difficult, but uh, it mostly has to do with time zones and who you're wanting to talk with. Some of the people I want to talk with right now are on after hours because they're American. But say I want to be closer to some of my European friends, I just wake up earlier. It's not a problem. It also encouraged better sleep habits, better eating habits because you eat breakfast at the start of the day. I mean, there's a lot of potential there. Like, what happens if you wake up, you go to the gym, you get your caffeine fix or whatever, shower, cook yourself a big old breakfast, have a little snack midday or whatever, and then come home, shower, sleep. It's a pretty productive lifestyle, and like you could watch anime, do whatever you want within that time frame. It doesn't have to be like a monolithic, like real rigid habit sort of thing. Like you could always pick 2, 3 days out of the week to do it. But if you're spending your communal and your interesting time in the mornings as opposed to at night, you have a reason to wake up. Like people have bad sleep habits most of the time because they wait till the end of the day to enjoy themselves. Like you come home right after a long day or whatever, and you're like, man, I just want to talk to people. I want to have fun. I want to shit post in general chat. I want to ruffle some feathers, say something controversial, show up and chat with my furry avatar. Like, why not? You just wake up the next day, you're like, man, I want to be somebody new. Change your type on every single Discord. Hey guys, I'm ESC now. Hello. Oh, no, no, no. Today, sorry, I was mistaken. I'm LII. I'm putting on the nerd glasses today. Anybody want to talk about semantics? The MBTI people got tired of me. They're like, we're giving you the TP tag. You're not removing that thing ever. I'm like, why not? Why can't, why can't I be INFJ today? That's what CS Joseph says I am. Performance anxiety, you know what I mean? Can't get it up. Happens.
So, let's see, what else can we talk about? So, what about politics? Do you care about politics?
I did as a teenager, but most of it's worthless, man. So let me explain this paradigm to you. You stand in front of a group of people and you tell them you're apolitical. What connotation does that have for you? If I come in front of you and say, Ibrahim, I'm apolitical, it means you should just listen to me. What I'm saying here is common sense. Everybody should be doing this. Is that necessarily true? So, like in terms of the interpretive reality, right? If I tell you I'm being apolitical, it's a very political statement being made, but that's not necessarily the case for reality. And so, like you start talking about politics, and where do you even start with politics? It's all about images and reality and how you present and posture yourself. And so, very little of the things that impact the media or actually get down to like the common man are actually like applicable things that are really able to be put into practice in reality. And so, like the majority of the decisions that impact us, nobody's really talking about. Like, sure, there's discussions about, say, universal health care or like the aging population, retirement, whatever. But do we really have that much of a say about these policies and procedures? For the most part, you're like, for the most part, every country has a few people, and policy may steer a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, or whatever. But for the most part, the collective demographics in any country is like somewhat set by default. The only real way that you can impact those policies and procedures is just by talking to people in real life, shaping opinions and things like that on the more foundational level. Talking broad scale politics or actively fighting with ideologies is practically worthless.
So do you mostly avoid talking about it?
I mean, nowadays I do. I don't like politics. I steer clear of it. I stay clear of the discussions because I could always talk about a different angle in it, and people get frustrated with that. Like they get genuinely pissed off. They're like, "Wait a second, I'm very like," they'll pop in the chat. They're like, "I'm very liberal," and then you offer a conservative viewpoint. They get like freaking fanatical, and all it is just raw emotion. Like there's no valid points being made. You're just upsetting somebody for no reason. Like they're having an emotionally charged moment, and you're just like sitting there with a stick provoking them. Like, what's the point of it? They're not going to change their point of view. Like there's a fundamental idea that they have, and they've built their ideology and their personality and their worldview based off of that. You have to change something more fundamental before they may consider a different point of view. And so talking just pure politics for the most part doesn't work.
What about like religion and spirituality?
I mean, I don't believe in anything. Uh, I was raised without religion. It's not that my parents weren't believers. They said, "Son, someday, you'll believe in God. You'll find him on your own." I grew up agnostic. I'm gonna probably die agnostic. I'm not interested in hearing it. I'm not interested in talking about it. It's all kind of way too removed from me. That being said, a lot of my friends are believers. I've got a lot of Muslim friends. I've got a lot of Christian friends. I've got Jewish friends. I even have Mormon friends. I spent a good amount of time in Salt Lake City. That being said, the Mormon faith guys walk up to you in the suit and the tie. It's kind of like, it's kind of scary. It's like walking into like a haunted house in the middle of a dead forest, and just walking in, you see the goat skull and the satanic circles and all that, and you're like, well, I guess I'm here. Shout out to my boy Lamb Sauce. They made a game about him, Cult of the Lamb. It's really cute. It's wonderful. But um for the most part, right, your reality is shaped by the images that you accept. And so like I'd rather be around people that are somewhat religious because they hold firm on their beliefs, right? Whether you have faith in like the Islam God, the Christian God, or Jewish God, whatever, I'm not really educated on it, but I'm more concerned with, are you a good person? Are the things that you're bringing into your environment positive or negative? Um, do you contribute in good faith? Is it interesting? Um, what themes are there? There's very few bad people out there. Some people make some very questionable decisions. You could always turn on the news at night if you want to see evil, but for the most part in your everyday life, um, it's a choice to engage with conflict.
what would you say your biggest accomplishment is?
Well, I've already really touched upon, leading data center projects, right? There's a lot of pride in that. I've already said, I had goals in video games, right, of hitting like diamond. And I went out, I hit that diamond. The high win rate was with like a 70, 80% win rate. Um, I've got, like the biggest success, I got to travel the countryside like I was younger and I wanted to travel, so I did it. So like in terms of successes, like if I want something, I get it. If I want $1 million speaker set, I'll go out and I'll buy $1 million speaker set. It's not a problem for me. I just do it. Like I was talking with one of my friends. He's like, "Man, I never met anybody like you. Everybody talks about doing things, but they never do it. Everybody's like Sigma male grind set, whatever, cash, cash, money, money, and here you are, you don't seem to really even care that much. You just go do it. You're like, oh, I want a fancy car. You went and bought a fancy car, whatever. You wanted a top of the line computer to play video games on it. You use it for Discord and Minecraft. Okay. What a waste of potential. Like, okay. What are you doing playing Undertale? You could play that with integrated graphics on a MacBook. It's just pure silliness at that point. I'm like, you have an AI capable computer and you do what with it? Yeah, Discord and Chrome. Hell yeah. You're like, okay, like I see how things are. Like you're just one of those types of people that always want the best. And I'm like, well, yes. Am I necessarily better than anybody for it? No. I like my Herman Miller chair. I like my comfy desk, and I like my video games to look better than reality. So shoot me. Like, even at work, they're like, oh, wow, look at your tools. You have the best tools. Why is it Snap-on? That thing costs $300. I'm like, the company paid for it. I wanted it. I needed a ratchet, so I went out and there's a Snap-on truck. And they like the guy next to me has like freaking Walmart brand ratchet. He uses it like a pry bar, and you're like, yeah, I have a pry bar. But I genuinely show a lot of care for things in my environment, and I worked hard to build an environment that I could live with. Like in my earlier YouTube video when I was living with my parents, right? I was never allowed to have nice things. I wasn't even allowed to throw things out. I didn't even like things. So while the way I'm like one of the things in terms of like picture and image and stuff like that, sure I have all these nice things, but there's other things as well, right? You don't have to have the best of everything. It's just the things that you choose to contend with. So like I put 60,000 miles on my car in 2 years. That's no shortage of driving. Would you want to do that in a rust bucket with, terrible seats? That's kind of terrible, isn't it? So I got a nice car. It had a purpose. Now I'm choosing to spend more time doing entertainment, that sort of entertainment technology, that sort of thing. It's got a purpose. For the most part, you get some nice things. You could thrift it. You don't have to furnish an apartment with $1 billion worth of stuff at the end of the day. What happens if the darn complex catches fire and you lose everything? Are you going to cry? Probably. That's a lot that you work for that's out the window, but at the end of the day, it's just stuff. Like I lived out of a suitcase with a laptop for 7 years. I probably if this complex burns down the next day, I just go buy a new laptop and just start traveling again. Use the insurance money and dip out. Like it's not a problem for me. So like, like people are like, oh, maybe you're kind of elitist or maybe you're kind of stuck up. Not really. Like I have humble origins and I can continue to live humbly. I don't have to be the best of everything. But there is a certain amount of pleasure in dealing with things that are high quality. So like you grab a screwdriver, right? There's various handles, there's various like, tips to it. Is it ergonomic? Can you whack on it? Can you make it do a lot of different things? The cheap ones don't really work that well long term. So you might as well get one that's sturdy, steady, has the stronger steel. You can still beat on it, do it whatever you want with it, but at least it'll be more ergonomically capable.
Do you play any sports?
I hate sports. I play esports. Like I'm the most like I'm like the most like kind of outgoing adventurous type that aspires to be a neat. I'm like, yeah, I do all these like really successful things, but at heart, I want to be at home on a computer like full nerd glasses. It's like quite the silly contrast.
Yeah. Um, hmm. Have you had like have you met any people like outside of work that you hang out with at all lately?
Not lately, like I had more of a reason to do it when I was like traveling. I was out in Phoenix, for instance, and I met that audio engineer. He worked at a bakery. So like we meet up for coffee and talk about audio equipment. When I was in Vegas, I met up with some guy at the World Series of Poker. We smoked a cigar together, and then we went and danced at a club. For some reason, boys nowadays are too shy of girls. They don't go to the clubs anymore. It's all girls at the clubs now. So I went drinking and partied. I danced at the clubs in Vegas, and it was fantastic. For the most part, if I decide to go do something, most of the time it's by myself and I meet people there. I just talk to random strangers and I'm like, okay, you're into this? Okay, let's do it. Like, I was at a freaking Walmart one day and I made friends with this other guy and he's like there for like League of Legends cards. I used to play League of Legends, like I hit Diamond or whatever. Okay, cool. I got introduced to a real life friend group on Discord. So now I have real life friends that I interact with on Discord. Like, okay. My other real life friend group, they're all on Discord too. Like, there's no, a lot of them tend to do things on Discord. You're like, okay, so I can be on Discord and interact in real life. That's how it is. Uh, that being said, this year in Dallas, the League of Legends World Championships here. I'm I've got a group of about 20, 30 people going, and I'm hosting. So I believe it's at the Allen Event Center, someplace like that. It's in North Dallas, but the championship is there, and I'm just like, okay, guys, everybody could come to Dallas or whatever, and we could go do some esports stuff. That's kind of cool. So right now, that's kind of the big thing. Like Avalonia was hosting a Socionics meetup like 6 years ago here at UNT or whatever, and I'm like, okay, cool. I go meet up with Avalonia. I chickened out. I was too shy. I was blushing, whatever. And I was like, my boy Avalonia, I missed out. Now he won't even recognize me. I ping him in the Discord chat randomly. I'm like, hey boy, you know what you doing? And he's too shy to recognize me now too. I'm like, what is this? You want to meet up, and now you're too shy and scared to even talk to me on Discord. Like, I understand 459 types exist, but like, man, that's some like next level crazy. I promise you, I'm a teddy bear. Like my old Discord name was Funshine, named after a Care Bear. Like, come on, you're scared of that guy?
So what does this mean that you're hosting the event?
Oh, I'm just inviting a bunch of friends over to go do that. I'm like, it's like a far out enough goal that I'm like, okay, cool. If you're into it, like, just show up. You probably have to buy your own plane ticket. There's a lot of people coming, but I'm seeing if I can't get a lot of friends, mobilized and set up and whatnot, so that we go see it in person.
So you're gonna like go in person to this event.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people said they can't afford a place to stay, and I'm like, shoot, I've got a place here. You can stay at my place, whatever. I know them good enough. I've known them for like 10 years, so it's like whatever. most of my good friendships last a long period. So I'm like, okay, I've known you for 10, 15 years. Some of my Discord friends I've even lived with. Like I must have met like 60, 70 people off of Discord. Sure, some of them are creepy, some of them are weird. You're like you go into you go you meet up with some dude off of Discord and you go into their car and they're like there's like 2 week old cheese fries in the back seat that they're chewing on. You're like, brother, I don't know how to explain to this, but I feel like a 5'5" cute female, and I feel like yelling a certain R word. Um, Pretty graphic imagery, but some of those people are genuinely creepy and scary. Like you're scared to do things with them. But for the most part, most of them are kind of normal, just normal, average, everyday nerdy people. You're like, okay, these are my friends.
Can,
Friends, yay!
can you tell me about some of those times you met up with people?
Sure, I was doing a data center in say San Antonio. And so I had a bunch of friends fly in from like the West Coast, East Coast, wherever. And so we went to Six Flags together. We went to Dave and Buster's. We went and uh, they went to like a video game cafe. We ordered like food and we chilled out at the Airbnb and whatnot. It was pretty fun. Uh, some of them had some things going on, internal conflicts, kind of whatever. I'd rather not talk about that, but as that pertains to their life, I was just kind of there, doing the river walk and whatnot. It was fun. Um, Met up with a few guys out of Phoenix. That was pretty fun. I met up with somebody out of Houston. That was fun. We went to I tried to get him to go clubbing, but he was a bit too shy and Christian to go clubbing. He's like, I might meet a female and I might sin, so I can't do that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I proceeded to have like 2 drinks and I was like, okay, time to drive home. So I drove like 10 miles home. No, 10 hours home. There's like a cop car on every corner. You're like, yeah, evaded the police. You're like, yeah, probably not the proudest of decisions, but I was like, I get home, the apartment's locked. My sibling wouldn't open the door. So I'm like, okay, time to turn that stereo system up on the speaker. Played raid sirens. That's one way to get somebody out of bed. Like a freaking banshee. You're like, heck no. Well, why'd you do this? You wouldn't let me into my own apartment. I pay for this entire thing. I pay for everything. Like you don't have an arm or a leg to stand on. Like it's in a good neighborhood. You have no reason to lock both locks so that somebody can't enter. Like if somebody really wants to enter that way, they'll go through the window anyways. We're on the first story. Like it's nonsensical. And you're just like, oh, okay. Um,
You go clubbing a lot?
I've only been like 3 or 4 times. It's fun. I go with friends. I'd kind of want to go more often. Um, Me in that environment, like I'm not really used to the environment yet or anything like that, or like bars, and I tend to steer clear of them. I'm a little bit too stiff and rigid for them. Not saying that I can't adapt. It just take a minute. Just a new environment to be in. I've been to raves and all that sort of stuff. I've been to metal concerts. It's a pretty good environment.
Have you been to a lot of raves and concerts?
4 or 5. It was mostly one year where I was going. Um, that and in Vegas. But like you'd be insane not to go do that stuff while you're in Vegas on the strip.
What was your experience like in school?
I was socially isolated. I had no you see my arm here?
Hmm.
Like people
Yeah.
don't believe me, but I had cancer in my arm hair, right?
Wow.
And so like when I was going through school, right, I missed a lot of first and second grade. So I grew up, right, I went through the special education system, mostly because of delayed access and whatnot to like learning to read and like that sort of thing. I went through like alphaphonics, all that sort of stuff. And so like it was kind of lonely because like I was always with like a dedicated teacher. And like, in the next area over, there was like some kid that, was a little bit, special, get angry, throw the desk at the teacher. They're like, okay, we have to escort you out now. Okay, thank you. Preserving your safety or whatever. Like, you get that special strength and you're as like a 6 or 7 year old, you're chucking the desk at the teacher and you're just like, oh, okay, let's get you out of here. But that was mostly the earlier years due to cancer. Middle school and high school, I was mostly just by myself. I didn't interact with a lot of people. I'd be in the cafeteria, I'd be overwhelmed. There was too much sound. So I'd mostly have lunch in detention. It was overstimulating for me. It was way too much. Um, it was scary. Like I didn't socially interact with anybody. And I just mostly kept to my own devices and did my own things. Um, And then, like as college kind of came around, like my entire life was digital. Like if I was to talk to anybody, it'd be online. I didn't even get like a smartphone till like 2013, so um it was like, every moment of the day was just waiting for the day to be over, and then you get that excitement to go home, do what you want to do. Uh my social life, as I'd consider it, started in college. I looked at myself. I said, you can't be shy anymore. You can't be timid. You can't be afraid. You have to walk up and start talking to people. You have to have interests. You have to have hobbies. You can't just stare at the wall. And so, like, I started talking with people in college. I just walk up, sit at random tables. They're like, what the heck? You're weird. I'm like, of course I'm weird. I'm not socialized. It's an experiment. And, as I was in the career in the workplace, I got more and more extroverted. I got better at connecting with people. And that really took off with me when I was started traveling. So like when I was younger, right, I started at the extreme of introversion. I was very shut in. And then as time goes on, I'm more and more extroverted. I like connecting with other people.
Yeah, that's a pretty extreme change. Um, so do you think you might be interested in other lines of work or like, running something yourself?
No, generally speaking, my hobby right now and my interest is data centers. I'd have to make a crazy amount of money to be a contractor doing data centers. Like sometimes to put in perspective, a breaker is like $50,000. And that's just one piece of equipment. You're talking millions and millions of dollars to do even a part of a data center. Um, there's no there like or even like factory work, like you're running say rigid and explosion proof stuff at like the price per unit, like one little fastener is like $50. um Realistically, the ability to start and like expand the company to that point, it's just not worth it, and there's already a lot of money in it. So like why would I go the route of going for more work when I could see if I can't figure out something for out of work? Like I already make enough money, I already have enough money. It's just about sustainability. Like I don't even like I've been asked to be a foreman at this company when with potential to move up to a general foreman, be a part of leadership again. 15 times they keep asking me. I keep saying no. I already have power. I already have prestige, and it gives me the choice. It gives me the power to choose. Like I'm not like seeking it. I'm already efficient. It's not a problem. I had to learn to be that way. I had to learn to contend with the real world for sure. Um, I used to be categorized by say a lack of movement. Now it's like too much movement. Um, and so that's the being too much of something is very much a conflict of interest. My dad told me, he said, son, there's virtue in diversity. You're all or nothing on everything. And that was a line that stuck with me because I tend to be that way. I tend to be all or nothing, like I chose to be all or nothing on the career. Sure, I was very successful. A lot of people were envious, right? But was it necessarily self-fulfilling? I was all or nothing on League of Legends. I hit diamond. Um, but the chasing of say diversity, right? Having that diversity of interest, like studying the various different things. Um, it's something I work on a lot. Um, most people nowadays they describe me as very diverse because like I've actively made the choice to always be doing different things. Now it's like so alien to me to be like all eggs in one basket. I'm just like I go to a restaurant, it's always something different. I'm not like an old reliable type of person. I'm always trying to go or do something else that like open-ended options. Um, but like options aren't really a struggle for me at this point in time. It's still more so who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I stand for? Uh, what am I passionate about next? So like the struggle with the 20 to 30, the struggle with the ages of 10 to 20 was more so finding the capacity to be, myself, like in the way that, determine a career. 20 to 30, I'd say that the conflict of interest was being successful. Now that I am successful, the struggle from 30 to 40 is who am I? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to stand for? Um, how do I want to relate to people? What kind of people do I want to surround myself with? How do I want to express myself? I've been a shit poster on Discord for years. Do I really want to be a shit poster? What about being sensitive? I'm pretty sensitive as a person. I'm pretty shy. I could be vulnerable, whatever. How do I want to present in the external atmosphere? I recently said, "Oh, okay, furries are controversial. I'm going to be a furry." They're like, "Meta, are you really a furry? Funshine, Funny Bunny, whatever your name is." And I'm like, "Well, it's a cute avatar. Heck yeah, I like it." And they're like, "Oh, okay, Meta's a furry. Life is over." My one friend in real life, he won't even message me on Discord anymore. He's like, "Your Discord profile is an abomination. Why do you have anime girl games on that thing?" And I'm like, "It's great."
Okay, I'm gonna use the bathroom. I'm back in a minute.
Cool, cool.
All right, you hear me?
I,
Okay, hey. Yeah, so you mentioned some questions that you've been kind of like thinking about, like, what do you want to stand for? So can you what do you think you want to stand for?
you know, a lot of, so a lot of people have hobbies and interests and stuff like that, right? And so, I generally, like a lot of the things I've started to stand for, like say in the workplace, has to do with environmental standards. Like people are working in the heat, you're asking them to work 12 hours, 7 days a week. It's kind of crazy. Um, you need to provide fans, you need to provide water, you need to be able to provide for your people. And so there's this sense of right and wrong in a lot of things. And so like I'm having to figure out what that is. And I've actively been kind of contending with it. Like even on like say Discord, right? There's people that prevent people from being who they are, and it reduces the depth in the environment. And so like I had that one day last week where I was just like, everybody's arguing about theory, but nobody's talking about personality itself. Like I almost feel like it's better to make I am and I'm not statements on things. Or like, type people without, say, using the cognitive functions. Like instead of saying, volition this, go they demonstrated this trait under this set of circumstance, and this is how the point of view shapes who they are, right? Or like I participate in a lot of different circles that way. Like I'm in MBTI circles too. People go, oh, you're ENTP because of Linda Barron's interaction style. You're clearly, you're clearly like you change personalities every day. You clearly have no FI. You have no consistent sense of identity. And I'm like, yeah, just kind of laughing at it because they completely missed the point. You're like, well, who is this person? Who am I talking to? What do they feel? How would I describe them succinctly in words? Like what's their experience like? And so, like I think about what I want to stand for, and I think one of those things that I want to stand for is say radical acceptance. I found that I don't really care what people are engaged in so long as they're engaged in something in a positive way. Um, I just want to be a part of something, right? Like, like if I want to watch anime, it's fine. I'd be an anime weeb, whatever. Would I personally say I am to that? Not necessarily, but some other people definitely are, and I like to spend time with them. Am I necessarily all in on video games or MMOs anymore? I am not. But that doesn't mean I can't spend time enjoying those sorts of things and step in when other people hamper other people's expectation or character and whatnot. It's a much bigger deal to me that people's boundaries are respected and say, they can be who they want to be so long as the fixation on their character is positive. I've had to find words and I've had to find structures in my environment because otherwise people would trample on me, you know. And other people are kind of going through those transitions where they too kind of have to grow into who they are and be strong, but not strong in the sense of fighting, but strong in the sense of who they are and be able to justify their interests in something. But at the same time, right, being able to say I am and protect other people's ability to say I am or be authentic or express things in positive ways or demonstrate compassion or say passion and whatnot, and not just lower discussion to say meaninglessness. Like I could always open up any Discord server, go in general chat, and find a wasteland. Like how much of that general chat is just utter garbage? Like I always joke with Fanta that his Discord server is like the garbage can of typology. I'm like, this Discord server is worthless. And I know he's watching right now, and I'm like, yeah, bro, that Discord server is terrible. Like I just pop in there, it's just utter garbage. It's the worst. I could do my best Trump impression right now, but whatever, you know what I mean? And like you talk about the like there's everybody just shitting on Empress in that Discord chat, and like she joins the call all passionate and excited to talk about something, and then ends up talking about how everything's subjective, and they're just like, honey, you just don't get it. And I'm like, but what if everything is subjective and you're just choosing the wrong things? Play a little bit of devil's advocate there, but a lot of these sorts of things end up being very like just highly silly to use good language to describe it. The little cat meme or whatever. You got the sillies.
So, I mean, you've mentioned some things about this, but so another question you said was like, how do you express yourself? So, do you see that changing, or is it just about messing around online and stuff?
No, I tend to be, like my passion a lot of in the like even in real life, right? Like the way that I tend to express myself is through irony, satire, and other engaging forms of humor, right? Like anybody can be well, I like anybody can use like low level forms of humor. But to craft a narrative that says something more implicit about things is a bit more interesting. Like if you actually have to contend with the image and actually pull things out of it, you might find a little bit more insight there. And so like my passion, a lot of what I found a lot of what I found fun is talking about contrasting images. So like like about 6 years ago, I was reading a philosophy article on IAI.TV or whatever. It was like Plato's virtual reality or something. And so it talks about how Plato looks at, say, images in reality and how images scare him. Because reality is pretty highly arbitrary if you think about it, right? Like everybody pays attention to certain different things in their environment. Um, But how you phrase it and how you look at it will drastically change that. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or like what dynamics go into making reality reality for you? And so like you could turn on the TV, any news channel, and you're getting certain facts. Like they could present all the facts and then they could provide a dialogue, right? And it's not necessarily reality. And so you end up with all these different points of view that have a contrasting perspective on what reality is. And so when you talk about, say, what reality is and the acceptance of that, right? What is real to you? And the image or the images in your environment that you accept as real are almost just as real as reality itself. And so ultimately, who you are and what you contribute and what you tend to look at becomes your reality. And so I tend to be very careful about that because I'm very real. Like, somebody, of course, if you're in a corporate meeting, right, there's the guy's going to go on stage. He's going to tell you that everything is wonderful, as a worker, right? He's going to tell you that things are fantastic. They got lots of money, they're strong, whatever. Is that really always the case? Not necessarily, but they're going to tell you that, and they're going to impact what you believe in reality. Or they're going to tell you, oh, we're slightly behind, we need you to work real hard, depending on what the motives are, right? And so, in terms of images and the wording and the way that things are presented, you accept very different structures in the case of reality. So, is this necessarily real that, that there's plenty of time and plenty of budget left? Or are they just telling you this? Do you know it's real? Do you know it's right? Well, for certain the message that they're trying to convey. That's something that you know for certain. They're saying to do this. But do you accept it? What's the true motivation? What's the true picture behind the scenes? Is the project in the red or is it in the green, or does any of that even matter? And that's all personal. You kind of get where I'm coming from on this, right?
Yeah.
Um, the same sort of thing, you turn on the news to CNN, you're going to get a very emotionally colored podcast. There might be one or two facts in an entire article, and they're telling you to feel a certain way. That's pretty controversial. You turn on Breitbart, same thing. Fox News, same thing. And there's not one real true news source that you can adequately trust because they all have agendas. So, how do you formulate a reality that's reliable or real? Um, even in the case of scientific study, right? Just because something is real under a certain set of circumstances doesn't necessarily mean that it's real in other set of circumstances. There's a lot of fabricated scientific articles and inquiries. So how do you determine realness and validity? How do you determine what's empiric? And so, more often than not, if you want to figure out what's real or empiric, right? Of course, the simplest way is like what's in front of you. That's one way, because like you turn on the TV, you turn on the internet, what's AI, what's not AI, what's Photoshop, not Photoshopped, or you can put all that effort into it for what purpose? So you can't really always accept the media that you're digesting in terms of emotional affect. I find I'm fairly distrustful of media because they're trying to get me to accept an interpretation of reality that may or may not be in my interest. Um, but that being said, from an empirical reality standpoint, there are people that do have more of a direct immediate impact on my life. Like it, do I necessarily care about the president of the United States? It's pretty removed from things that directly impact me. Some of the decisions do, right? Like say tax reform or other things like that, right? But ultimately, right? There's how many people that have input on that election. There's how many different news articles trying to sway points of view. It was an endless deep dive in order to figure out what is accurate about that picture. It's pretty impractical figuring out what that picture is. You're just being told these different sides with various facts associated with it. And so you may learn that certain facts were omitted. Controversially, right? Uh, Obama was caging people at the border, separating family members. Trump expanded that policy. Big emotional outrage, right? Talking politics, right? Turns out the people that were being caged and separated, a lot of it ended up being trafficking or other things related with that. And so that was the part of a news article that was removed. That being said, is Trump good? Is Trump bad? It highly depends on the angle. Arbitrary. There's a lot of bad things he's doing, a lot of good things. Same thing with Biden, same thing with Clinton, whatever. Do I necessarily have to care about it? Does it impact me? Do I really need emotional involvement? How does this impact my daily every day? Do I care? Not really. Like, is it gonna really like if I open up the latest Tumblr feed and I see something controversial, how is it gonna benefit me to get outraged by it? Doesn't matter if it's liberal, if it's conservative, whatever. Does it really, is there really any power individually that I have here? Maybe other people are super mobilized by it and want to do something. Okay. Maybe if it has a valid point, maybe if it impacts me. And I think that a lot of this stuff is just ideologically removed from reality. So like why would I care?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I have enough information now. so we can move to the conclusion. So, I think this was a hard case for me. I think, you're a pretty complex and unusual person, I would say. I can't think of a lot of people that are very similar to you, actually. And but I mean, there were certain things that stood out. Like, obviously, you have a lot of like focus on the technical aspects of your work. You seem to be, pretty competent at what you do, and you're interested in all these, technical details. I think having high extroverted logic is something that I noticed pretty early on, right? So, I can see why people type to you, LSE or SLE or whatever. Actually, when I was going into this, before I thought you might be EIE, but I think that that's less likely having talked to you. I think, the way you speak is, I think it's less, you don't seem particularly, expressive in the way you talk. I mean, you are like, you do talk, you can, it's more like what you're saying. It's not like, yeah, I think, emotionally or just like, facial expressions, you're pretty, um, more reserved. But yeah, and it is interesting how you said like when you were younger, you were much more introverted, but I do think you're an extrovert. Like, you mentioned like, taking things to the extreme, kind of like, being very hardworking and you just kind of go and get what you want. That signifies pretty high SE, I would say. Yeah, I think you have no shortage of extroverted sensing. Yeah, you're a go-getter. You do, working a lot is also part of that, is, SE plus TE. And, yeah, and I do think that like taking things to the extreme and being like all or nothing, like that's very much more an SE valuing way of approaching things, especially SE valuing extroverts and yeah, SE bases. And yeah, I wasn't considering EIE so much, but I was mainly looking at SE base and LIE. I think those were the main types I looked at. And yeah, but and it was a little harder, seeing your quadra values, I think, because I mean, yeah, I guess it is a little bit unusual to see an SE valuing type who's not really too into conflict. Like, I mean, you said you try to avoid conflict, but at the same time, like you did mention, like at your work, for example, you were pushing pretty hard to get, these changes made, and it seems like you do assert yourself quite a bit, whenever, if you don't want to do something, you're going to be pretty assertive about that. And what else? Yeah, well, I guess so. Basically, I think you're SLE. I think that is the best fit type. And because that means, having very high expert logic, but also being SE valuing, and it was interesting near the end when you were talking about these kind of abstract questions. Like, it's, a lot of people have trouble answering, these very abstract questions, or and sometimes it's not so relevant, if you're just looking at, how people behave in their life. But I do think, like asking people about their values or things like that, and it can be very illustrative sometimes. Like if I used to ask this question, what are your values? And a lot of people would have a hard time with that. They'll be like, I don't know, or like, they give some uh, kind of half-hearted answer, just think up something on the spot. But, if you ask like certain people like IEIs, what their values are, they might have a lot to say about that. And it's, could be something that's very, relevant to, it's something they think about a lot. And it's kind of, uh, yeah, it's important to them. So yeah, I think when you're getting into getting into these things about like, how you express yourself, what do you stand for? That was when I think I started seeing the beta values really coming out, because yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe you there's, I get, some of it is just, maybe messing with people online, being kind of a, mild troll in certain ways. But yeah, you also mentioned things like standing for like radical acceptance of, people's expression. So I mean, it does. I mean, you explicitly you know use the word self like expression to refer to something that you value, and yeah, also this attitude about like kind of being very skeptical about the information we're presented with on the news or in the setting of politics. Yeah, I mean, you said you don't like talking about politics, but you actually did digress
Oh,
quite a
oh,
bit.
oh, on all that subject, like I
Yeah.
straight up did my interview with Jack with the Trump poster in the background.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then like people asked me about it. I'm like, I also had a Hillary one. You want to see it? I don't have them anymore. I'm kind of ashamed of it, but
Yeah, so I mean, like, I mean, it does seem like you like provoking people. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that a little bit online. I mean, I don't think you're like a troll or anything, but I think you do like,
you did have me blocked for the longest time ever. I was like, my boy Ibrahim, what's going on?
yeah.
I was like, Ibrahim hates me.
I don't know why I blocked you. Some before they had the ignore feature, sometimes I would just block people if they were kind of being annoying. So don't take it
I mean,
personally.
2017 me was annoying. Like, I don't blame you on that one. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, the thing about like being skeptical about facts, like I think I mean gammas are skeptical, very skeptical too, and they're but it's less it's more about, like, oh, how am I going to verify this in some kind of, probabilistic way instead of being like, oh, facts don't exist, which is kind of where you're going with that, like what is like is reality even like a thing, is kind of like seeing yeah, being skeptical of the idea that factual, objective reality is kind of like a thing.
Well, I feel like kind of where I was kind of feeling with it is that logic in your environment's completely arbitrary. The rules that you set for yourself, the ways that you engage is completely arbitrary, at least to me.
Okay. I mean, well, in any case, that's kind of I would say that's kind of a controversial way of looking at it, or, not many people would go that far. But yeah, other than that, I mean, yeah, there were some things that were kind of weird. Like, I mean, I guess you mentioned like, taking care of, you know, your belongings or like, people's physical needs. There's some SI there. I mean, ignoring SI is, it can be somewhat present. I would argue, some people disagree, but um, yeah, what else? I mean, being stiff and rigid kind of, I guess, it makes some sense with FE mobilizing, that they would, maybe in some cases would not be so socially, outgoing. But, I think on the whole, you are like, you've started, initiated plenty of, social things before. And, what else? Just, I mean, yeah, and the way you speak also is like, I notice it's like very technical sometimes. Like the way you word things just seems very like precise, and I don't know. I get that. I think that's just like a TI thing, basically. So yeah.
Is there any other like is there any other real good basis for say TI creative? Because that's the one that I really struggle to kind of verbalize myself.
Um. Well, yeah. I mean that was the main way that I saw it. Like, I mean, you seem to have very like, yeah, you seem very particular about how you express things in language, like very, technical and kind of precise. Um, yeah, I think that's the main way I saw it. And like, you do have you're pragmatic, but you also have, principles that you kind of balance or combine with your pragmatism. So that's kind of the TI creative plus, T demonstrative kind of, you know, personality.
Well, I very much appreciate you, Ibrahim. It's what's it called? There's been like a lot of there's been a lot of doubts on that, you know, especially in like other discords. Like, you know, people have tend to have a very strong stance on whether I'm LSE or SLE. And I was just kind of like, well, I'm going to ask Ibrahim himself. And
Yeah.
you know, like I don't know anybody who's like stronger in the Discord chat than my boy Ibrahim. He's so famous. He's both famous and infamous, depending on who you talk to. Everybody's got a stance on my boy Ibrahim. And so I was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to ask the most controversial person to type the most controversial type E, and it's going to be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, LSE, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like a terrible typing, but yeah, I think when you get down to like the things that you really deeply care about, I think that, the FE values and, the NI also, the, the kind of skepticism and yeah, yeah, I think it really comes out more.
Okay. Um, well, have a good evening, sir.
All right, you too. Yeah, it was a good interview. So,
Okay. Have a good one.
all right, you too.